Take a girl and a guy, and they fall madly in love and form a family. Sprinkle in some counseling degrees and a doctorate, a dream of transforming relationships as we know it. And 20 years later, we give you power couple Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. And this is their podcast, Couples Synergy.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Couples Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean, and this is our podcast about love, marriage, and relationships.
Check us out online at couplesynergy.com or on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Couple Synergy. And please subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, or send us any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear more about. And now on to Couple Synergy, an in-depth look at love, marriage, and relationships, where we bring you our experience helping thousands of couples transform their relationships for over 25 years.
Everyone says you should work on your relationship, but nobody teaches us how. So we've created this podcast to teach people what they can do to create the relationship they've always dreamed of
with the partner they fell in love with. On today's episode, we welcome Clifford Steffen. Clifford is the founder of Booze Vacation, a health and wellness company for high-performing men who want to take their lives and careers to the next level, all by using the massive benefits that come from a break from booze as leverage to do so. Clifford, we want to thank you so much for being on our podcast today and for talking about this pretty important topic. As we know that alcoholism and alcohol abuse can be a detriment to healthy relationships. So thank you for being on our podcast.
Hey, Dr. Ray and Jean, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I agree. And to throw in my tagline, it's also a good hack for better relationships and being a better partner. And not really targeting alcoholics or problem drinkers, but more just kind of the typical, work hard, play hard. You get a college degree, you get a corporate job, and it kind of follows you everywhere. And over time, it kind of having some effects on you that could be a little tricky with age and wear and tear and a lot of responsibilities. So
absolutely
hitting on.
So, before we go into talking about Booze Vacations and kind of how it got started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what your own personal story is?
Sure. And I'll maybe make it a little bit more relationship based because I know you guys typically have couples on. I'm 51. I'm married. I have two girls, younger girls, and been married for 18 years. And super lucky to wind up with a great partner. And so I'm real happy with that. It's definitely been an ongoing learning experience. And and I was also, I got married in my kind of a little bit early 30s. So that helped because I think in my 20s, I definitely was kind of immature and again, not an alcoholic, but definitely, very social and like to party and like to go out with friends and events and all the crazy stuff you do in your 20s. And I was in a relationship for a good 7-8 years and was engaged, and that wasn't looking like it was going to be successful. So I was able to kind of have a fresh start and kind of, again, in your 20s, me in particular, I don't think I really knew what I wanted, but I kind of figured out what I didn't want. So that was valuable and was able to find, someone that met those needs. And so I feel real happy and blessed that I was able to do that because it's such a big, important decision. And it has really profound effects on your life and happiness. So I feel pretty blessed from that perspective. As far as, so that's a little bit about me and my backstory, kind of how I came to find Booze Vacation and founded Booze Vacation. Again, me and my buddies, we played sports. Most of my peers I find have a similar story, drink in high school and college. But when you're starting to drink a little bit early, it does predispose you to kind of heavier alcohol use over time, just kind of physiologically. It's kind of a work hard, play hard mentality and try to just have as much fun and make some money and get married and all that stuff. And I think it, as you get into your 30s and especially your 40s, it starts to, the effects of alcohol use, even at socially responsible levels can have a pretty significant impact just kind of on your overall health and wellness, which in turn, affects your attention and your empathy for your partner and just your ability to be at your best, to manage stress, those types of things. So I wasn't really looking for the solution, but I'm kind of a health nut. I played a lot of sports. I got a degree in nutritional science. And so I always kind of prided myself as being a good, good, healthy, active guy. And kind of as I got into my 40s, I was kind of struggling with just kind of my sleep and my stress levels and my performance and my happiness. I think it was kind of dragging everything down. So I was pretty proficient at diet and exercise and supplements and kind of turned over every last stone except for drinking, because it's just me and my buddies always did it, and it's kind of everywhere, and it's socially acceptable. It's in corporate America. It's kind of wherever you go. And so it was kind of the last thing I looked at. And I did wind up taking a 1-year break. I called it a booze vacation to kind of make a joke out of it and, get my buddies off my back, which they kind of laughed at, and it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, I just had really profound benefits. It just kind of seemed to make everything easier and better and improve my relationships, improve my health and wellness. And so I was real excited about it. And, I was telling all my buddies, I'm like, hey, this is really cool. You should check it out. And, I found out pretty quickly that I couldn't really have those conversations. There just wasn't an appetite or an interest in it. And it honestly just kind of pissed me off. I was like, man, the system is pretty bad because, guys don't talk about it. They don't try it. They don't see the benefits and examples of it. And so it's a pretty predictive model. And now that I'm in my 50s, I can kind of see how it can kind of have, kind of negative consequences. And so kind of trying to be a good buddy, I'm like, okay, some guys got to take one for the team and kind of start talking a little bit of trash on alcohol, even though I think guys really prefer to play dumb with it and just kind of laugh off all the negative symptoms, because we just kind of get stuck in associating alcohol with fun, friends, events, and a reward system. And yeah, I mean, I was pre, dating apps and stuff like that. So we had to actually go up and talk to girls, and I'd prefer to be doing that with a couple drinks in my hand. Not that I was a big ladies' man or anything like that, but yeah, definitely. I think my generation, especially, I think we were a little tighter with alcohol, just because it kind of gave us a little liquid courage to be able to talk with people and stuff like that. So
now, did you meet your wife on a booze vacation at the time?
Okay. So yeah, so booze vacation is, essentially just kind of a fun aspirational way of saying, hey, I'm taking an extended break. So a booze vacation is a 3 to 12 month break. And yeah, it's kind of just a fun way to say it versus like, oh, I'm on the wagon, or am I, I got some bad blood work. So it's just kind of more fun, aspirational, jokey way. But actually, I did kind of meet my wife on a booze vacation. Now that you mention it. So I was about to turn 30. I got laid off from a tech job in Silicon Valley. I had, dated a gal that it didn't work out. And I was in San Jose, or what I would call Man Jose, because there's a lot of dudes and not a lot of females. And so I was bitching to my buddy. I'm like, man, the girls in this town suck. I'm about to get laid off. This is not looking good for me. And he's like, you should go to Europe. You should go. And I'm like, yeah, I should. And he's like, you should go on this Contiki tour. I'm like, yeah, I should. So I wound up going on this guided tour. It's like 18 to 35-year-olds on a bus. It's kind of like backpacking light. We had like 8 countries in 14 days. And I wound up meeting my wife, who wasn't from Europe, but was from Kentucky. And yeah, we kind of got to date throughout, like, Italy and Florence and Austria and Paris. And so, yeah, it was pretty epic. So we got to kind of date throughout Europe, and she was in Kentucky, and I was in California, and we actually met on a kind of a canal tour of Amsterdam with like the best Heineken I've ever had. And so, yeah, it was a really neat experience, and pretty funny story. I was kind of like, meeting people, because we had like 50 kids on this bus, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm Clifford from California. You're Angela from Kentucky. Those are pretty stylish pants for someone from Kentucky. Kind of just talking, but it kind of came off as like a backhanded compliment. And she was like, what's that supposed to mean? And it was kind of like, from there, it kind of kicked off kind of a fun banter. But yeah, it worked out pretty well. It was kind of a booze vacation.
Would you say that like the work hard, play hard competes with being in a healthy relationship?
Oh, absolutely. And, as I mature, like I said, I think I was pretty immature in my 20s and even in my 30s. I think, just regular alcohol use kind of just kind of taxes your body and system and your sleep and your mood and your energy and your brain. And so I think a lot of my peers, we focus on, work hard, play hard. And so, you got to take care of the job and then you want to go have some fun. But, as a partner, as a parent, sometimes that can take more of a back seat. And I think especially, the reality is, even though we're not alcoholics, there is some physical and emotional dependence there with alcohol that it creates by kind of rewiring your neural circuitry. The reality is, if you're having 5+ drinks a week, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that will rewire your neural circuitry. So you'll have higher stress, lower mood, you'll have less impulse control, you'll have more anxiety, and it's going to impact your sleep and it's going to impact your digestion. So it does make you less of a productive partner. And I think it's pretty easy for guys to be, a little bit more almost in some cases when you're working pretty hard and you are maybe a little bit physically dependent on alcohol to some degree, I think you can kind of maybe not value your partner and your family as much because, you're not having beers with them, and watching the game with your buddies. So it can kind of create a little bit of competition there and maybe some bad behaviors and bad, energy or dynamics around that, if that makes sense.
Well, it can be, I'm sorry. It could definitely be very divisive, right? I mean, there's a lot of business cultures out there that alcohol is intertwined with, and so that whole work hard, play hard, guys go out, after work and hang out and drink. It's kind of a bonding experience as well. And so I imagine that a lot of guys would feel on the outs, right? Especially if they're in sales and they're meeting with clients or even in politics in that realm, alcohol is so intertwined in it. So, how does someone stay successful like in that type of culture where drinking is a big part of it and also have a good relationship? That would be, it seems like it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely kind of competing forces, and it's also kind of a timing issue. I think a lot of my peers and maybe myself included, I think in your 20s, it's kind of you're going all in. So you're trying to build your career, you're trying to, set up a relationship, and you're trying to cram in as many fun activities as possible, which usually revolve around alcohol. And you're absolutely right. Sales in particular, corporate, and I was in Silicon Valley, so there's always kind of parties and events and stuff like that, and it goes kind of hand in hand. And so, yeah, I think that's it's kind of tricky. But I'm kind of targeting guys that are like, they have their families now. They've kind of found their footing in their careers, and now they're kind of essentially stuck with a program, an operating system that might have been like birthed like in high school or college, and they're still kind of using that same operating system in their 30s and 40s. And they're finding out some of the limitations of that because, alcohol changes over time with tolerance and age and wear and tear. And, I do think, and that's kind of the whole birthing of the reason behind taking an extended vacation from drinking, because cutting back or dry January, or, taking a month off, it doesn't give your neural circuitry enough time to rewire. So you're still, even if you took a month off or you tried to cut back, you're still going to be at a deficit. You're still probably at 60-70%. And so you really need, especially guys that might drink a little bit more, they really need a good 6-month break to really rewire their neural circuitry. And not only that, but get the at-bats socially and at work events and be able to navigate and learn how to relax and have fun without it. And, to your question, how do you do that? In a work setting, I mean, yeah, you got to initially, it's a little awkward. I think the key to it, since we're not alcoholics, it's on the nuts and bolts of it isn't hard to do. It's just really getting your mind around it. And I think for males in particular, it's so embedded in our culture, in our reward system, that and in our identity. So kind of just not doing that even temporarily is really kind of entering the twilight zone, and it could be kind of scary. But what you'll find when you do take an extended break, and we're not about just taking a break and not doing anything else, like we're about getting after it and kind of going on a land grab when it comes to just your health and your fitness and performance and relationships and side hustles and just really getting after it on all levels. But what you'll find is when you're sleeping better and you're more fit and you look and feel better and you're sharper, you'll be able to handle those social events just as well, if not more. I think a lot of times, especially like in corporate America, sometimes, you might not be totally interested in the people you're with, or they might not really be your type, but you get a couple drinks in you and, you can make it fun, but it's not, again, it's kind of just a little bit of a game we play, and then it winds up affecting our sleep and our performance and our relationships and things like that. So I think it's it's a little bit of just stepping into the unknown and testing the boundaries and really giving your body and mind a chance to reset, because I think a lot of people, given the chance, again, it's almost like when I tell a typical peer, hey, you should consider a break. What happens is we're kind of asking the wrong person right now, because they're not at 100%. So they can't really answer that question. So right now they're not sleeping well. They're kind of stressed. They have bad blood work. They're a little overweight. They're not in the best relationship. And so they're kind of like at that 60%. So they're kind of like, no, I just want to like have some fun, man. Like I want to have some beers and I don't want to deal with this right now. But what will happen if you actually sack up and do it is you'll like find out that things are easier and better, and you'll have more of an opportunity to make an actual choice. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I founded Booze Vacation, is I believe guys just don't get a choice. It's like, it's everywhere. It's in corporate. You're supposed to do it. It's with your, it's how you relate to your buddies. And I think people thinking about not doing it is just a kind of a non-starter. And then they just don't wind up ultimately getting a choice. And they wind up signing up for things that they wanted nothing to do with, like bad blood work, erectile dysfunction, low testosterone, and, cancers, all kinds of crazy stuff that can start happening in your 40s and 50s. And so, I think it's just something that every guy should do. And I'm targeting males because I'm a male and I'm kind of staying in my lane, but our message is resonating really well with females as well. We have probably 45% of our signups are females. So, again, I'm kind of talking more straight talk, just health, wellness, performance, and not pointing fingers or pushing sobriety. We're not targeting alcoholics, but just kind of trying to have that an honest conversation about it, because typically our society kind of likes to play dumb, especially males, when it comes to alcohol use.
Now there is this trend happening with non-alcoholic beverages, right? A lot of non-alcoholic beers, brands have come out with their own. And then also there's like non-alcoholic whiskeys and things like that. Well, what is Booze Vacation's standpoint on that?
Oh, we're all about it. So again, it's not like we're anti-alcohol or anything like that. We just really want to give guys a choice. And it's also a time-sensitive need. We want them. It's a lot easier to restore your health than try to reverse chronic disease. So we'd like to engage with guys in their 30s and 40s before their risk of chronic disease really start to ramp up. And yeah, what you'll find when you're not kind of somewhat on that dependence curve with alcohol, what you'll find with these non-alcoholic beers and cocktails is they taste great. And there's some muscle memory. So if you've been drinking beer for 30 years, or in my case, 30 years, and you have a non-alcoholic beer that tastes great, you'll have some muscle memory there. So you'll still get a little bit of a buzz and it won't be weird. But you just think it's weird when you're kind of still in that cycle of never taking a break. But yeah, there's been a real ramp up of NA brands. And I think, they're starting to get a better toehold. What's happened is the science has come out on alcohol, and it's atrociously bad. Like if anybody doubts what I'm saying, there's an Andrew Huberman podcast on alcohol, and it's just like, it's so bad as far as like, there's like, small amounts will damage your DNA. It'll rewire your neural circuitry. It creates a leaky gut. It just creates chronic inflammation, yada, yada. It's all terrible stuff. And so I think it's kind of like the cigarettes of the 50s, it's like the word's out, but they still have a pretty compelling product that creates a lot of dependence, and they still spend 10 billion a year on it and have the world's most beautiful people hawking it. So, and again, it's not even about not ever drinking it again. I want to give guys a break and to restore their bodies and minds, and see how much fun they can have without it by increasing their activity levels, having better relationships, having better sex, having less problems, having less drama. And so, but yeah, I really think, again, if I was, some of my buddies that are alcoholics are like, oh, I don't want fake beer. Like that's, but for me, it's like, it's a perfect crime. It's like, they taste good. I'll have 3 of them. It's like, why would you drink 3 of them? Because I feel like it, and it's fun and they taste good, So I think they're great. And there's some really good ones. And I'm a connoisseur. I know which flavors we like. That's actually one of our challenges on Booze Vacation. If you go, our charters kind of help you get smarter with your drinking and tools and resources to do that. And you can actually take a 3 to 12 month vacation all for free. And one of our challenges is to find your favorite. And so, especially if you go to like Total Wines or Bevmo, some of these bigger party stores, they have like a crazy amount of selections. And so, some of them are completely terrible and some of them are fantastic. And we have kind of a cheat sheet on some good ones, but there's some really good ones. There's some good hop waters that are, no calories. And again, they're quite nice. And there's some really good cocktail stuff as well, but I haven't explored them all, but they're the perfect crime is the way I look at them.
What about couples who socialize and drink together and maybe one of them wants to make a change?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I do think that, guys typically, in my peer groups, at least, they probably drink a little bit heavier. And I do think that I see it in my peer groups where, I think women are catching on. They're definitely targeted more with, marketing, because they were kind of like, the next market to go after. And so I think a lot of, and let's be honest, like any show you watch, like every scene is like somebody drinking a cocktail or a wine or whatever. So it's just so pervasive. But, when I do convince my buddies to take a booze vacation and then the wives are kind of resistant, which I've had before, I find it really unfortunate because, I think they're really, when guys are actually ready to take a vacation, I think it's really important for the wives to support them because, they're going to be a lot better partner. They're going to be a lot better, parent. And to your point, I do think it's a great opportunity to do it together. And again, it might be kind of tricky to get the stars aligned when both people are ready to do it. But, even if one person does it and the other person, kind of helps them out by not buying their favorite beer or not having it, so handy, I think it's important. I'm not here to tell couples exactly what to do, but I can tell you that, like anything, if you can do something that's a little bit challenging together, there's going to be camaraderie, there's going to be a closeness there, and there's going to be some really good gains and insights from it. And, ultimately, when you take a break from alcohol, you're just going to wind up with more time, money, energy, better sleep, better hormone levels, better connection, and you're just gonna have an elevated mood. So I think those are all good environments for a good relationship. And it's also a way of just kind of mixing things up, right? Like, alcohol is very predictive, and like any jerk can go drink 6 beers with their buddies and have fun on a Friday night. But like, what about Tuesday afternoon? What about Thursday night when there's not alcohol? That's when I think you kind of make your money, because I think alcohol can make you kind of focus more on future, like when's that event, when's that dinner, when's that party. But it's like it's all you have is right now. And so, be present, be grateful, be in a state where you actually enjoy being in. And that could be tricky when you're, associating with a, depressant with fun.
How has Booze Vacation impacted your own relationship, your own marriage?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's been helpful. Like I said, I I feel like kind of a man child, like in my 20s for sure. And now I'm in my 50s, 51. And yeah, I think it's definitely, I'm talking about some of these negative feedback loops and effects of just kind of socially drinking. And I definitely was a recipient of that. I slept poorly. It messed with my productivity. It increased my stress. I was kind of, foggy. I already had maybe a little bit of ADD. So those are all not optimal things to be a good partner and an attentive partner and empathy and stuff like that. And so I think it's really affected my ability to be a good partner because I'm just more level and I'm more present. I have more energy and a little less reactive, able to better handle stressful situations. I perform better, so my confidence and esteem is up. So it just has a lot of small ripple effects. But I also have a really good partner that communicates well. That was one thing that I didn't really do well, but yeah, it obviously takes two. But it kind of just sets the table for you just kind of coming at 100% as your best. And so hopefully between that and your partner, you can kind of figure it out. But it's made a big difference for sure.
How does the Booze Vacation interact with or affect the relationships you have with your drinking buddies?
Yeah, it's cool. And it's funny because, again, I did it. The reason, I created Booze Vacation because I couldn't have these conversations and I couldn't influence my friends that knew, liked, and trusted me for like decades. And it just pissed me off so much. And at the end of the day, I'm just concerned about their health and their families and all that. And so I think they're kind of, and so my master plan is to like get all these other people randomly on the internet to do it and then shame my buddies into having to do it eventually. But it's been cool. Like I saw them last week and it's definitely brought a lot of awareness to the table and a lot of respect. And I think they've been really great about it. And again, I'm in my 50s now. So it's like, if we were in our 30s or something, it would probably be more frat and like more shit talking and stuff like that. But no, I think they appreciate it and they see what I'm doing and why. And so it's good. But, I'll be honest, like, yeah, I had some, I went and met some buddies and yeah, they had several IPAs and it doesn't affect our relationships, but I haven't seen them in a while and I want it does affect, just how we connect and relate because, when you're kind of buzzed, you're kind of just, you kind of get, a little stuck and repeat the stories and it does kind of water down the connection and the energy in the room a little bit, if I were to be honest. But that's I'm okay with it, but it's just, it's not optimal. It's like, as you get older, you only have so much time with your buddies. And so when you do, you want that, you want those interactions to be as strong as they can be. And they can still get a little bit eroded by, if somebody's a little kind of out of it, but it is what it is. But everybody's cool. They don't think I'm like weird or anything, but I am kind of weird. So
did you find a need to socialize differently with people who were more present or wanted to discuss things that were at a deeper level?
Yeah, and I do. It can be kind of tricky, and some of that's just podcasts and audiobooks and those are interactions as well. And at the end of the day, some people have more time and space to kind of do inner work and do that. It just really depends on the situation. But I take it where I can get it. My wife has a good head on her shoulders, so we talk about it. But yeah, it's just is what it is. And I think my peer group is all on a similar track. And so, yeah, just kind of busy and yeah, maybe drinking a little bit too much and starting to feel the effects of just wear and tear and getting older and more responsibility. So it is what it is. And, but yeah, my buddies that have done it and other people that I've connected with that have done it. Yeah, there's some really neat stories to share and just how you can be an example and how you can still have fun and still maybe have a little bit deeper connections without it. But again, it's not about judging or anything. It's just trying to give guys a choice.
How does Booze Vacation work specifically, and how do you personally implement it in your life?
Yeah, so how does it work? So it really starts by just getting some baseline. I hate to say education and awareness. It sounds dull, but I think you just kind of need to realize what you're up against. I think a lot of people like to play dumb and they don't really connect the dots. And they think if they go big on the weekend, they'll probably be okay by Monday or Tuesday, but don't realize how it's kind of rewired their neural circuitry and how there's longer term effects. So just kind of, banging the gong on things you can't unsee, how it crushes testosterone, how it can a couple drinks can erode your sleep by 40%. I think at the end of the day, if you want to be at your best and if you want to have gratitude, you want to have good relationships, there's a lot of things you have to do, especially as you age. You have to sleep well, you have to eat well, you have to exercise, you have to, have good stress management. And it's just, all that stuff is just really, you have to have good hormone levels. There's just so much stuff that you just can't do very well. And you ultimately just wind up pissing up wind with your physiology with regular alcohol use. So we've kind of just set up free tools and resources to get smarter. And then when you're ready, and kind of like, hey, I'm not sure alcohol is benefiting me. I want to test this out. It's not like you're making any lifetime declarations or, telling everybody to, you're never calling them back or anything like that. But just like, hey, I'm just on this new adventure. Check it out. And it's really, again, we're not alcoholics. It's just the awkwardness of it. And I think people just need a peer to say, hey, this isn't a dumb idea. You should check it out. You have nothing to lose. And guess what? Like, everybody really likes it when they do it, but it's just kind of one of those things, like anything that you don't want to do initially, it can be kind of challenging, especially in our society where we're kind of like this comfort culture where we just want like, a Starbucks and then a bagel and, and a cocktail and all that stuff and our favorite show. So it's easy to kind of numb out. And as far as how it's affected me, I've taken a 1-year booze vacation and, had a couple drinks after that. And then I've taken, whenever you want to look and feel good and perform at your best, if you have a special event, that's always a great time to, you got a wedding plan, whatever it is, it's always a great time to take a booze vacation. So yeah, I took my first one when I was 46. I took a 6-month, that was for a year, and that was really impactful, but I still drank, after that, maybe a drink or two, it kind of made me smarter and I drank a lot less and for different reasons. And then over time I started drinking a little bit more and I said, I don't really like where this is going. So I took another one. So it's just kind of a way to kind of, reset. And then, I was turning 50. I had a surfing trip to Nicaragua planned where we were going to surf like 10-foot waves with a buddy from high school. So I took like a 6-month break because I wanted to make sure I was in great shape for that. And so just the more you do it, the more muscle memory you get. I think from what I can tell with me and my buddies, I think the more vacations you take, the more of the vacation lifestyle you just kind of keep with you. So it's been, I rarely drink. Again, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not saying you can't, but that's just, it's a choose your own adventure. But like I said, I think the longer your vacation, the more you learn, the more you earn, and the more you're going to want to keep. And so with that, you'll just wind up drinking probably less and for different reasons.
Choose your own adventure. I think some people out there would know that reference. A lot of people don't, right?
Oh yeah. Those books. Yeah. Those are sweet. Yeah. I'm pretty old school.
So Clifford, if someone wanted to know more about Booze Vacation, where would they go?
Boozevacation.com.
Boozevacation.com is pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
And I'd love, again, I think it's a cool couples exercise. And even if you're not ready to quit drinking, I think just getting some education and awareness and kind of testing out some of the stuff, how it can kind of affect your mood or your energy. And if you get like a sleep tracker, like an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, like it's pretty scary what it does to your like resting heart rate and heart rate variability and sleep and readiness scores. So it's just something to kind of check out. And again, it's not about sobriety, but it's just hopefully about doing life better and having more options and having better energy to engage with your partner, because marriage is tricky and there's a lot of crazy things going on in this world, and having something that's going to just turn up the stress and lower your mood is not optimal if you can test it and see for yourself.
And I know you've said this multiple times, but I think it's important to stress it to the audience, is that we're not talking about someone who has a severe alcoholic problem. That is someone who definitely needs to seek treatment, and AA as well, right? We're talking about, people who don't have an alcoholic issue or alcoholic dependency, and they want to make a shift and change in their life.
Yeah. And, honestly, I think a lot of my peers aren't looking to change their drinking habits per se, but they might be trying to get healthier, or they might be trying to improve their blood work without prescriptions, or they might want to, have a better sex life or just less drama or connection, better connection with their partner, improve performance on the field or with business. So I think they're typically not seeking to change their drinking, but it's kind of the master key to help with all those things. And so, yeah, that's why it's an interesting offer. I've essentially created something for people that aren't looking for it and don't want it, but they do, directly, but they do indirectly. So it's kind of what we're doing.
Well, great. We are going to, put that website in the show notes so that if anyone is interested in getting more information about it, they can access boozvacations.com. And Clifford, we want to thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope that was couple enough, as far as, even though it's kind of a men's health and wellness play, but I think it has a lot of good, alignment with couples and how they can have hopefully better relationships.
Absolutely.
Absolutely is important. We've done episodes about women's health specifically, and so this is really nice to be able to feature men's health as well.
Yeah, and this last little point, alcohol is almost twice as bad on females than it is on males. So I'm focusing on males because I'm staying in my own lane. But yeah, the direct correlation with cancer risk and stress, and I think females often are carrying the lion's share with managing the family. So I think women getting smart with their alcohol use, even though, like I said, I think they're not in that culture of playing dumb with it, but I think it's really important for women to figure that out as well, because they're typically smaller, don't process it as well. So it's pretty critical as well.
Absolutely. Well, great. Thank you again for being on our podcast today. We want to thank all of you for joining us on Couples Synergy. Our passion is in helping couples and people have happy and healthy relationships. And this podcast gives us a fun way of bringing our knowledge and expertise to you, our listeners. For all of you listening, please let us know how you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, please email us at contact@couplessynergy.com. For more information about Couples Synergy and our programs such as Relationship 101, the home study course, the next Couples Relationship Enhancement Weekend, and our premier couples coaching program called Couple to Couple, look us up online at couplessynergy.com.
And if you know someone who can benefit from this episode, please download it and share it. And thank you for listening.
Until next time, synergize your life and synergize your love.
You have been listening to Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Couple Synergy was recorded, edited, and produced by Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. Voiceover and music entitled Breathe and Let Go was recorded and composed by Gina Gonzalez.